Hi, I'm Steve Hayes from the Department of Classics and World Religions. Thanks for coming to this discussion of budget cuts and the future of Ohio University. OU faces a very serious budget challenge. The state of Ohio, like many other states, has experienced financial difficulties over a period of many years and has substantially reduced its support to higher education over the past decade. In response, most academic units have lost faculty and are functioning understaffed. In the next 2 years, we face more cuts, big ones, in state support. We will almost certainly raise tuition, but even so, we must prepare to cut expenses by about $30 million, a virtually certain $15 million for next year, and probably an additional $15 million for the following year. And beyond that, we hope that Ohio's economy will quickly recover, but we cannot bank on such a hope. The budgetary challenges we face have not been caused by our administration. State universities throughout the country are facing similar challenges. Here are 3 examples of large state universities that are making radical cuts to their academic mission. Florida State eliminating anthropology and geology. Michigan State eliminating geology, classics, and many other programs. Arizona State, 4 dozen programs, maybe 2 entire campuses. State support is declining, and there is little we can do about that. Our main source of revenue is students. Virtually all of OU's revenue arises from students registering from classes. Here's a quick reminder of how much money students pay to study for a year at OU. These are costs for undergrads, but grad student costs are pretty similar. These don't include food and housing, and there are some specialized fees that students in specific departments or classes pay that aren't included here. But this chart serves as an approximate reminder of how much money each full-time student pays each year for an OU education. Ohio residents pay about $9,000 a year. Non-residents pay an additional $9,000. Ohio students pay about $200 more per year to attend OU than they would to attend OSU. That doesn't mean, though, that OU allocates $200 more per student to instruction. To the contrary, OU allocates $615 less per student to instructional fees than OSU does. Since we have about 20,000 students on the Athens campus, that amounts to over $12 million less per year of student money going into the fund that academic departments and administrative offices draw on. OU allocates about $800 per student more to general fees than OSU does. So, state support of instruction and the money students pay as tuition and general fees when they register for courses. Those are our only significant sources of revenue. And now, let's return to the matter of budget cuts. We must prepare for cuts of about $15 million for next year. But just how much is $15 million? Here's a thought experiment. Let's decide to get really radical and simply cut the biggest department on campus. Let's just eliminate the English department with its 60 or 70 faculty, its photocopying and computer expenses, its travel and telephones, everything. No more English department. Surely, a decision as radical as that would solve our budget problem with money to spare. Not so. In fact, to save $15 million next year from academic units, we'd have to entirely eliminate quite a few departments. And if current predictions for a further $15 million reduction the following year hold true, we'd lose even more departments. After we catch our breath, we need to notice 2 very important realizations that should arise from this thought experiment. First, making these huge cuts from academic departments would be insane because they are the source of our revenue. Students come to OU to study, and OU produces revenue, tuition, general fees, and state subsidy only when students register for classes. Eliminating these departments would save $30 million of expenses, but it would also cut about $73 million of revenue. Solving our problem in this way would create a problem greater than the one we began with. This thought experiment should also cause us to confront our aversion to making radical decisions. Most educated people rightly avoid radical solutions because they're likely to result in unexpected calamity. We don't radically swerve to dodge a deer in the road. If we can avoid it by moderate changes, okay. Otherwise, we'll just stay the course and hit it. Probably holding steady is safer than swerving, which might send us into a tree. So, the second realization that we all need to get is this. A cut of the magnitude we are facing is not a deer. It is a semi-truck coming at us. There is no moderate way to cut $15 million from next year's budget. There is no moderate way to cut an additional $15 million the following year. Whatever we do will be radical. We must understand the magnitude of the challenge that confronts us. Only if we do will we be able to find imaginative, visionary ways to reconfigure our budget. We will make radical decisions. We must. But those decisions can be either better or worse. Families all over the country are facing financial crises. Some of those families refuse to acknowledge the gravity of their financial problems. Some lack adequate vision and imagination or lack cooperative skills and spirit. Over time, those families are likely to be torn apart by resentment, anger, and escalating debt. Other families face their financial problems squarely, appeal to one another's good sense, courage, and willingness to make necessary sacrifices. They make honest, sensible, and sometimes visionary and courageous choices. They determine to preserve what is most important and to do without what is not. Over time, these families stabilize their finances, and as they do so, their mutual respect and cooperation grows. Financial difficulties pull them together rather than tear them apart. During the next several months, the OU community will respond to our financial challenges in one of these two ways. We can unite and make wise decisions that will make OU a better university over the long haul. But if we're going to do so, we will all need to get serious with one another pretty fast. We will have to understand the magnitude of our problems, determine not to fall into bad habits like quibbling about irrelevant details or blaming our leaders because they were in charge when the problem occurred. We will need to pull together as a university community, decide what we really believe OU should be and what isn't all that important. We need to decide what kind of community we want Ohio University to be. One quick word of encouragement. Universities all over the country are facing the same sort of problems we are. Some of them will make bad decisions and sink into bitter turf wars. They will become dreadful places either to study or to teach, and some of them will eventually shut their doors entirely. Other universities will limp through these difficult times with cautious and inadequate solutions. They will survive, but with vastly weakened academic programs, disillusioned, frightened, and defensive faculty, students crammed into large classes taught on the cheap. A very few institutions will dare to take bold and innovative actions, trusting in one another and in the power of good thinking. These few universities will emerge stronger from their financial trials. Their faculty, students, administrators, and staff will unite to pursue a common purpose with careful thinking and hard work, and they will succeed. Over the next generation, the best students and the best faculty from around the world will seek out those few universities. We at Future OU believe that Ohio University can be one of those universities. Let's make it happen. The next 45 minutes or so will be devoted to comments, suggestions, and questions from the audience. The discussion will be led by Robert Leary, President of the Student Senate, and Geoff Buckley from the Department of Geography. Perhaps these questions and ideas will help to guide the discussion.